If you think that mainstream cable news networks have totally lost their minds over these Donald Trump cabinet appointments, then you need to do two things right now. Number one, subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the notification button. And number two, listen to this craziness that was spewed on MSNBC about Fox News host and Secretary of Defense nominee Pete Hegseth.
Add the Secretary of Defense nominee, Pete Hegseth, the Fox News commentator as well, because this is someone who weekend host. Important distinction.
By the way, what kind of a stupid dig is that? She says it's a Fox News host, and the other guy goes weekend host. Like that, like he's grasping at everything. He's trying to demoralize Pete Hegseth by saying, no, he's a weekend host. Was that worse? Is being a weekend host not as good as being a daily host? I was a weekend host on Newsmax for years. I thought it was great. Weekend host is great because guess what? You're still on the TV station and you don't have to work as hard. But Pete Hegseth, he's less of an elite player in the media because he not only did he work for Fox News, but he worked for Fox News on the weekend. And that's the only thing that makes you less qualified than working for Fox News is working for Fox News 2 days instead of 5. In their minds. I digress. Let me start that one from the beginning.
Add the Secretary of Defense nominee, Pete Hegseth, the Fox News commentator as well, because this is someone who weekend host. Important distinction. This is someone who, is known to be a white supremacist, known to be an extremist, whose book is basically about his opposition to the advancement of black officers to the top brass.
He's a known white supremacist. He's a known extremist. And on top of all that, he's just a weekend host. Pete Hegseth. How can we put this guy in charge of the military? First of all, he's an extremist. Why is he an extremist? Well, because he works for Donald Trump. Why is he a racist? Well, because he feels that black officers should not be elevated to the highest levels of the military. That's a lie, by the way. I know, shocking lies on MSNBC. Pete Hegseth's whole platform is diversity, equity, inclusion is bad, especially in the military. If any department in our government, if any department anywhere, if any institution ever created on God's green earth should be a meritocracy, it should be the military. Because you want the most skilled, the most professional, you want the most lethal, you want the most focused, you want the most engaged, you want the best, like just all around best people in charge of the largest fighting force in the entire world. This is the first line of defense nationally and domestically. The U.S. military, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, the Space Force, the Coast Guard, the National, all of them. You want somebody who's at the top of the list. You want the generals and the lieutenant colonels you want every single person in the place they're supposed to be because they know what they're doing. They're skilled, they're quick, they're knowledgeable, they're experienced, not because they're black, they're gay, they're transgender, they have different pronouns, they're a pregnant woman. None of that should matter. Pete Hegseth never said, don't elevate black soldiers. He said, don't elevate people simply because they're black soldiers. And now MSNBC is calling him a white supremacist, racist, extremist, and worst of all, lowly weekend host. That's an important distinction.
Add the Secretary of Defense nominee, Pete Hegseth, the Fox News commentator as well, because this is someone who weekend host. Important distinction.
No, it's not an important distinction at all. None of that is important. What's important? Here's what's important. I'll tell you exactly what's important. What's important is that Donald Trump is picking people not based on how long they've been in Washington, D.C., not based on how long they've slogged away in some bureaucracy or what positions of power or what deputyships they've held before. Donald Trump is going in there and saying, who is somebody who is going to root out? Because again, we've never been in this position before. Remember, this is brand new. Just like George Washington, after he won the Revolutionary War, had to start from scratch by building a government, Donald Trump's doing the same thing.
We got the second George Washington.
And what's happening is the second George Washington is going, okay, forget everything. We're starting over, right? He's taking Here's what we got. Ready? I'm gonna do a visual for those of you that are watching. This is. Here we go. Ready? This is Biden's government. Okay. Here we go. Look. This is Biden's government. Donald Trump's looking at this, going, "All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're starting over." Okay. We don't have any. I just made a big mess. We're starting over. We're starting from scratch. Get me a new sheet of paper. I don't want any of the old names. I don't want any of the old bureaucrats. We're starting fresh. Who do we know that could run the military? Who do we know that is against DE&I? Who do we know that has a plan for elevating individuals to positions of power in the military, in the fighting force, that is merit-based and has nothing to do with diversity, equity, or inclusion? Who do we know that has a military record and a pedigree? Who do we know that has written books about how our warriors are being, basically disrespected and attacked by their own government? Who do we know? Do we know anyone like that? Yeah, like that Fox News weekend host. Great. Put him down. Bring him in for an interview. Look, these are not just a bunch of bros sitting around in Mar-a-Lago. I know a lot of people think it is. They think it's like Don Jr. and J.D. Vance and, a couple other people and Donald Trump and Barron. Who knows? They think they're all just sitting around this table and they're like, all right, cool. Look, we got to find a place for Pete because Pete's a good guy and we play golf all the time. Or, hey, RFK, he's a badass. He killed that bear and he's a falconer and we need him. They're not just doing that. They're interviewing, they're vetting, they're looking at these people's records and they're trying to figure out who is going to be the best person to make sure that our government is run efficiently and that our citizens are protected and that our military is strong and lethal and deadly and prepared to fight and win wars anywhere in the world. And it's in their minds, it's Pete Hegseth. And that's not something they pulled out of their butts. That's something they came to the conclusion of after extensive research and study. The other thing is this whole concept of loyalty. People Donald Trump just wants a yes man. Donald Trump just wants somebody who's going to go in there and say yes. Donald Trump's going to be in charge of the military. I've actually heard somebody, I forget who it was, said, Donald Trump's literally going to be in charge of the military, and all he's going to do is tell Pete Hegseth what to do. Fun fact, that's the role of the President of the United States, Commander-in-Chief. Pete Hegseth is Secretary of Defense. He is not in charge of the military. His job is to take Donald Trump's orders and follow them through. His job is to take orders from the president and make sure that the rest of the military operation is following those orders. So yes, Donald Trump will be in charge of the military. That's what Donald Trump will be looking for people that say, yes, I will do as you've ordered. Now, he'll also give his opinions. He'll also give his insight. There will be debate, as there always is in a Donald Trump or in any White House, I hope. But Donald Trump, do not be shocked. The commander-in-chief of the American military is not the Secretary of Defense. It's not the Joint Chief, the Joint Chiefs of Staff. It is the President of the United States of America. So don't get your panties all in a wad that Pete Hegseth is going to be in charge of the nuclear codes. He's not. There's other people in charge of the nuclear codes.